This is E&P Reports, a service of Editor and Publisher Magazine. Since 1884, the authoritative voice of news publishing. And hi again, I'm Mike Blinder, publisher of E&P. And today we're talking about money, not yours, Google's. We're going to visit and learn a bit more about the Google News Initiative Challenge, which just opened up here in North America. And we know there's a lot of interest in this and some controversy when it comes to Google and some of the current legislation going on, but we're going to talk to the person who leads it. She is Googler. Remember, whenever you talk about a Google employee, you call them a Googler. Googler LaToya Drake, Global Outreach Lead of the Google News Initiative. As the outreach lead at GNI, she oversees the events, the brand, the experiences, and manages all promotions and partnerships, including the challenge. She's the mobilizer for Google's inclusive storytelling efforts in the news industry, which includes creating programs to elevate and unheard stories and voices in our industry. She has an MA in Communications, Culture, and Technology from Georgetown University. Her BS is from Political Science in Florida State University. She hails from Alabama. She lives in New York, and she's going to come to us from the Google offices right now. So let's go one-on-one with Global Outreach Lead Googler LaToya Drake. LaToya Drake, welcome. We're so honored to have you on E&P Reports. How are you today?
I'm great. I'm so happy to talk to you.
Now, you're New York-based, but we find you today where during this?
I am in Mountain View. I'm at the mothership at the Google HQ.
All right. Is it true that you all call each other Googlers at Google? Is that correct?
That is, in fact, the acronym. We are Googlers.
So when they sent me the invite to do this, they said, your Googler today will be LaToya Drake. LaToya, you've been at Google for 6 years, but only with the Google News Initiative for 1 year. Is that correct?
Well, we started the initiative in 2018. Yes, I've been at Google about 6 years. I've worn a few different hats, but right now, heads down, focused on all the work that we do through the initiative.
I actually have the original tweet. I do my research and homework. When Google launched this in March 2018, the big Google News Initiative, they said, let's build a stronger future for news. With the hashtag Google News Initiative, we're collaborating with the news industry to help journalism thrive in the digital age. Is that still the case? Is that like the mission statement?
The work has not changed. I would say the opportunity has certainly increased, but that is indeed the statement. That's the mission, and that's what we're after.
All right, we're here to talk specifically about the Google News Initiative Challenge in North America. This is the second one, right? So let's start off with the basics. What the heck is it, and why did you guys do it? What's the whole reason behind the GNI?
Sure. When we launched it, we were thinking about how do we take all of the work that Google does with news across our product teams, our partnerships teams, and our programs, and make that one consistent, solid effort, because news is important. If you think about when people search on Google, they're looking for information, they're looking to get informed. We didn't have a really organized way internally to support the work and do it in a more cohesive way. That was the impetus for the Google News Initiative, which, as I mentioned, launched in 2018. What people most attach to when they hear or when they remember the launch is that it came with a $300 million fund.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
yeah.
It came with quite a substantial amount of money. And now, once we made that announcement, it's incumbent upon us to think about how do we actually make those resources go to work? How do we actually put those in the hands of newsrooms and publishers who are trying to innovate, which is the impetus for the Innovation Challenge, which, again, we're talking about the North American one, but we've launched these in regions around the globe, and they each have a different topic, a different focus, but they really are meant to think of ways that we can say, let's take some of this funding and let's figure out the challenges and give people the resources to tackle them.
So when all the dust settled on the first round, what kind of projects were you guys backing? Give me an idea of who won, if I may, or what types of projects.
So in North America, the first challenge was focused all on local media. And we got, I think, almost 300 applications. And the wild thing is you can never predict what ideas they will come up with. But the types that won, I'll give you a couple of examples. Mm-hmm. And large and small publishers, one was a group called OK Player. They're based in Brooklyn. They wanted to figure out how to build an investigative journalism platform to tell the stories of African Americans in their community, and also hope that the community would feed into that storytelling. Again, this was around the country. There's a group in North Carolina called La Noticia. They also wanted to figure out how to build a platform to help the community tell their stories. So again, we look for a variety of ideas and are open to many ideas. But again, those first round ideas were squarely focused on local communities and how can you innovate in that space.
Well, I've obviously read a lot of the information about the new round of challenge here in North America. Diversity is a big part of that. Why? I'm obviously it's an important concept, but why would you make that important right now? What is the thinking behind that?
Yeah, and I have to say, this is a work that I've spent quite a bit of my time at Google really trying to advance and bring to the forefront. This is really an iteration of the first round, which focused on local. Now
Right.
we're saying, how do we put a focus on organizations, publishers, storytellers who are figuring out ways to tell the stories of groups who might often be overlooked? Who are your diverse audiences? How do you support them? How do you reach them a little bit better than what you've perhaps reached them in the past? So this is, again, saying, yes, we're going to focus on local, but how can we get very granular on what that means and understanding a challenge that many people are thinking about and trying to grapple with? And that, again, is how do you reach new audiences? How do you tell their stories? And how do you really do that in a smart, innovative way?
And diversity is a big part of that then, looking just beyond the normal, getting out there. But let me ask you this. I attend many conferences, and there's sometimes the big dogs dominate. We have our Epi Awards at E&P, and when we give one to CNN, or this year we had CNN win, ESPN win, NBC News win, Gannett won a number of them, New York Times. What about smaller operations that don't have the resources? Do you pass over them, or do you give them a good look-see and let them be part of something like this?
I'm so glad you brought that up, because this is not intended for the usual suspects, if you will. A lot of large-scale publishers, they've got the resource, they can tackle this at scale, and they do a great job of it. We want to make sure smaller guys know that there are funds for you, there are resources for you. You will not be overlooked. So we really hope, and we're going to do a lot of work on the ground. I always say to the team here, and there's a large team working on bringing this effort to life, the announcement and talking about it is step one. Step two is we've really got to go in market. We've got to let people know that you can apply to this. Please don't think that it's a big, scary Google application process and you're going to be overlooked. That is not the intent. So we'll definitely be rolling up sleeves and really trying to demystify it, because it can be daunting to think about, well, how do I apply for this? How do I get some funds? We're trying to take that mystery out of it and really be open and welcome people to knowing that they can apply for this.
Did you have negative feedback from when you launched this in other places where the smaller guys had trouble feeling like they were part of the group, and now that you're modifying it, just making it simpler? Is that the plan now?
That was definitely one of the learnings. Earlier this year, I'm on the road quite a bit. I spend just as much time outside of the office as I do in. Certainly don't want to get that tunnel vision. And a piece of feedback that we heard from several associations is, well, some of us don't know how to write grants. We don't even know where to start. No one even gave us a playbook. We just were intimidated by it and therefore did not apply. So that's the feedback that we've taken in and really internalized it, and again said, well, now we've got to get out there and listen to people and show what it means and do workshops and hopefully be very open and collaborative. Because again, we did see a lot of people or hear that people were just not sure how to apply and didn't feel like we necessarily provided the resources. And that was a huge learning for us.
All right, so let's there are some people that argue about this, and I gotta mention this, that when the money was first being brought out, when the G&I was announced back in 2018, there was a lot of people protesting, saying what Google's trying to do is throw a few. I know it's a lot of money, but you just throw a few paltry $300 million at the industry in order to deflect from the legislation that's going on in Congress today. How do you guys feel about that? Especially with the News Media Alliance right now backing bills in Congress to have you and Facebook, which makes a good deal of your revenue, correct me if I'm wrong, off the news content that you show in your results. And is this a deflection of some kind? Is this some kind of lobbying effort? Or what is the real mission here, if I may ask?
This is not at all any type of deflection. There is no lobbying effort here. And I will say this, one of the things that we respect and understand is that a company at this size will get the scrutiny. There will be questions about why are you doing this? And the intent is not to get people to look elsewhere while we're doing something in the shadows. That's not the intent at all. I mean, Google has a 20+ year history of working with the news industry and making sure we're giving resources back, sending clicks, sending dollars back to publishers. This is meant to really recognize some specific challenges that we have to not just, this is not just about funding. This is also about showing up, being present, understanding real challenges. And yes, it feels like a paltry sum, but it's not the end. We have to start somewhere. And this is certainly meant to be a place where we can start and really show the industry that we are listening and we've not put our heads in the sand and tried to run in the opposite direction.
Well, because, the News Media Alliance is throwing out that $4.7 billion number. I don't know where they got that from, saying that's how much Google generated off of local news content in 2018. But correct me if I'm wrong, your mission is to click through to those sites, correct? You're not curating Google News, you're simply showing the pages, right?
Right, we're not curating at all. We are not content creators. We are trying to get readers as close to the right information that they need and sending them off to the publisher so that they can then own that audience, so that they can then figure out how to monetize them. Where we fit into this, and I bring up the mission statement, and this is not in a Pollyanna way, but again, it really is about organizing the information and getting people to the place that they need to be.
All right, so and it sounds like as the news industry flourishes, Google flourishes. Is that what I'm hearing here in your philosophy?
That's exactly right. We can't thrive without the news industry. We're past the point where, tech and news can operate separately. We're in this together. So if there's no quality information, there is no Google. That is the point of Google. So we are in this hand in hand and want to make sure we show up as good, thoughtful partners and not in a way that says we want to go this alone and we're turning our backs. That is not at all the spirit of the work that we do.
So, I know you're not the upper senior. You're definitely up in the higher echelon at Google. If for some reason this bill was killed in Congress, does your gut tell us that the G&I would still exist? You'd still be doing this? You'd still be helping out the news industry for years and years to come?
That is a very ambitious question that you are right. Is well above my pay grade. And those are not the meetings that I am in. I am on the ground trying to do some meaningful work. So I wouldn't even be able to begin to speculate.
All right. Okay. Well, at least it was a fair question to ask. I hope you understand. Let's move on then. You mentioned you've met with various associations, and there's a lot of associations right now that are working with you. Local Media Association is working with you. I know of Pointer Institute, correct me if I'm wrong, is working with you as well. What kind of feedback have you gotten from them? Obviously you're keeping your ear to the ground. What are you learning from industry associations that have partnered with you about what's going on today in the news publishing and news media industry?
Sure. Let me give you some other associations that we're also working with. We're working with some organizations like the National Association of Hispanic Publishers, the National Newspaper Association. We're on the ground and in the trenches and really learning what those challenges are. And one of the things that we're finding is the work is just beginning, and the opportunity is so huge that we come down to not knowing where to start, if you will. One of the things that we hear from a lot of the associations that I've spent quite a bit of time with is you can give them funding, but if you're really talking about newsrooms and transformation, they need more than just funding. They need the types of expertise that is born inside of Google. When you think about technological innovation, for example, we hear a lot of, if we were talking about AI and machine learning and audio and some of these newer trends, who's going to come from Google and really help us think and innovate on that front? How can you create moments that are not just episodic, but ongoing, where we say, how can we bring our engineering talent, our product talent in to really listen to you and the challenges that you're facing? And hopefully that comes back inside of Google and helps inform the products that we're creating. So there's a lot of, we need a little bit more. We need more than just the funds, but we really need some of that expertise that may not be coming our way in volumes. So we've got to take let me go back to the term Googlers, take them out of the wheelhouse and really get them in market and side by side with the challenges and understanding what's really happening so that we can be smart about what we're doing. And again, not just doing it in a vacuum and doing it based on our gut work.
Is that on your calendar? Are you starting to do that? Are you providing outreach from the Google resources now? Are you lobbying for that in
We
Google?
do. We actually, on the team that I sit on, we have a huge outreach and training arm that is a global team that goes around the world, that spends a lot of time in newsrooms. And I am happy to report that where I sit, and it takes a little bit of time to be able to do this at Google. I think most people know when you work at a tech company, all of the power is with products. So you've got to be close to product teams and get them excited about coming out with you, especially when you're talking about news and publishers. And I am doing my work and have successfully done it. So over the course of the year, there's going to be a lot of exciting things that we're going to be able to talk about.
I'm very excited. I mean, I'm feeling your excitement through here. You should add after Googler, comma, evangelist. That's what I'm starting to sense in you right now. You're evangelizing to an industry, but you're also evangelizing to your own company as well, and trying to bring us all together. What are the major challenges you are facing now, if I may ask you personally?
Sure.
And go ahead.
Yeah, it's exactly the one that we're talking about, the internal work. I have to say, I mentioned I spend a lot of my work outside of Google. I travel quite a bit. I like to know what's going on. I like to be in the mix, in the trenches with the foundations, really figuring out what's going on. That part is easier for me than often doing the work internally and getting people excited, especially if you're not face-to-face with publishers and you're hearing it through me, you're hearing it as an anecdote. That's the biggest challenge that I face, really making it clear that this is where we need to be. I need you to leave the office. I need you to leave Mountain View and let's get on the road and come here. And let's not even come to New York. We need to go to Minnesota. We need to go to Alabama, which, by the way, is where I'm from. That's the big challenge, making that excitement come to life for people who don't do it day to day like I do.
That's incredible. And I have a feeling that you'll get a warm reception from the industry, because I think, as you said, getting tech and the news media industry together has been tough over the years, because there's been this term that we've heard at many conferences, which I still don't understand, called frenemy. Have you ever heard that one? I mean, let's discuss our frenemies. We're all in this together, right? Because if the news publishing industry fails, and this is just my 2 cents, the search industry fails, correct? I mean, because there's nothing to search for. There's no content for them to see. So it's a total win-win. This is a question from my editorial team. What kind of case studies will you offer to the industry from the winners? Are you going to start making sure that we all have access to this, we can learn from this? And how do you plan to publicize this to make sure that even the little guys, the big dogs, we don't have to be a member of an association in order to grab that information from, I guess, can I say best of breed, if I may?
That is, I'm so glad you brought that up. That is very much a key part of this. And we do have a team that is, when we announce these challenges, they're not announced and then we run away and then we come back to you and see how things went in 6 months. That is actually part of the work that we're doing, identifying cases that we can then make the learnings available. It's not enough to announce it and then give out the funds. This is all about industry change and how can we share these learnings. I heard we do these events from time to time at Google, and we bring journalists together. And one of the lines that stuck with me the most, and I really enjoyed it, someone offered just journalists and newsrooms and publishers in general, you want to compete on the story, not on the process. So if there are learnings that can help everyone, let's put them out there. And that's really the spirit of what we do. You will compete on the story, you will compete on sources and so on and so forth. But if there's a process that others can use and we can really do it at scale, that's what we're doing here. So we're not going to be secretive about the learnings and the success stories. And I'll say that is also true across several other news initiative programs. We have some local labs. We've had some subscriptions labs that we've launched. And we do publish quite a few case studies on the learnings on our website, which is g.co/news initiative.
Okay, and that's where you have published some of those case studies, and people can find them. All right, let's go to nuts and bolts. I'm now jazzed. I'm a small town publisher with visions of ways to innovate, to be different. I want to do this. What's the process, and what advice would you give to that guy who says, "I'll never win. There's no money out there for me. I'm too small"? What would you say to that person?
The first piece of advice I would give is to please come to our town hall. We are doing it, I believe it's March 9th at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. So the team is coming together, and you'll find, I'll give you some information on where to find it. We are doing a town hall to again, demystify it and answer some of these questions and give people a sense of what's expected, what has worked out well, again, to just open the door or open the kimono, if you will, and give some information. So I would say start there. And
Okay,
then
this is March 9th, a town hall live on the internet, correct? Live.
Yes, live on the internet.
And you'll record it as well, I assume, correct?
Yes, it'll also live on YouTube. So.
Okay, this is what, and as the publisher of E&P, I'll make you a deal. I'll make sure we provide a link to it, and we make sure everybody can find it if they can't be there at that exact moment. So how does that sound?
That's fantastic. That's exactly what we want to do. So this is not, again, one moment, and if you missed it, it's done. So that's the first step. Please come. Please talk to us. We will make an email alias available. The second thing is, there is no one size fits all. And again, as I mentioned, the beauty of this is we can't really predict what the ideas are going to be, but people often wonder, well, what types of things might I think about? And I'm not going to say the sky's the limit, because there is a piece of one piece of criteria is around feasibility. We want to make sure it's sound and it can actually be done. But what about a local publisher who's thinking about, how do I use video to reach new audiences in a way that I haven't done before? So again, there will be some people who will say, well, how do I use AI or artificial intelligence to understand the business impact of bias or overlooking specific audiences? So it doesn't have to skew on the side of, I've built something new from scratch, I've rewritten another algorithm. It is meant to be feasible and tangible and something that's actually doable. There's also a piece, one of the pieces of criteria is, how inspirational is it?
Really?
I mean, yeah, the inspiration is something we're also looking at and what we're judging for.
How do you gauge inspiration? This is an interesting. When you say inspirational, I mean, how would it helps inspire others in the industry? Is that?
That's exactly it. Inspiration means, who else are you inspiring? Not just me, not just my colleagues. I'm easily inspired, as you might be able to tell. But how can you share that knowledge with others? Do you have a willingness to open it up? Are you willing to open source it? So that's also a piece of it. So I would encourage people to not really be intimidated by the fact that Google is a tech company and we expect you to do some coding. Not necessarily the case, but we really are looking for a breadth of ideas. And if you leave with nothing else, I hope that people aren't intimidated to apply. First
round was 300 million, correct? You didn't mention a number on this one. How much? No.
So the 300 million is the Google News Initiative total funding. So the first round, we gave just under $6 million. We awarded it to about 34 projects, and the selected projects can get up to $300,000 depending on what you've pitched and what you've asked for.
And that's all when people apply, they're going to see this as well.
Absolutely.
Okay, so let's assume they attend the town hall on March 9th. They're getting jazzed. They feel excited. What's the next step? What does someone do after that?
The next step then is you go to the website, you apply. But before you do that, we are asking for proposals, so people will spend some time putting proposals together. We're also going to share just some background and some color on what that might look like if you don't have experience putting together a proposal, and giving some best use cases. So we will be providing that type of information in some of our on the ground work, and also at the town hall. But I would say after the town hall, really take some time to really think through creatively what you're trying to put together. But we also hope that we're pointing people in the right direction and answering more questions than we are leaving confusion.
How long are we open for the challenge? When does the deadline for this? When are you closing it?
Yeah, we're going to be open for 10 weeks.
Okay.
So I can't even do the math right now. So it will be open for 10 weeks from today.
Well, that's great. So we got 10 weeks. I have to ask, who's judging? Who have you assembled? What minds are going to be looking over these proposals and making the decisions? Can you give us an idea?
Yeah, I won't name names yet, but it is a mix of internal, a handful of Googlers who have practiced in the space, and also external experts. So we're not going to get into a conference room and make the decisions. We are bringing in some external voices as well to make the decisions. And also, it's really important that it's not just us. We were talking earlier about not going it alone, and we can't do it alone. So we certainly won't make this decision in isolation.
All right, let me review then. If I were to give some bullets to that potential winner, or number one, I heard diversity, right? That's a buzzword right now. Actually, and we're at the end of Black History Month, so maybe that's an appropriate time for that. I mean, so number two, I heard innovation, because that's part of the name, but then I heard inspirational, right? Mm-hmm. These are the things. Is there anything else I'm missing there? Just to give a quick hit. Go ahead.
Yes, I talked about feasibility a little bit.
Right.
And then also the impact on the news ecosystem. Is this a new idea? Is it going to spur creativity and innovation? So those are also the criteria. And let me also point out, when we talk about diversity, we're not just talking about racial diversity. Of course, diversity can mean a number of things. So this is not a narrow definition. It could be gender, it could be race, ethnicity, socioeconomic background. So there is a wider lens for how we're thinking about diversity. So we're not trying to narrowly focus it on one area.
And political as well, if you will.
And political diversity, certainly.
Yeah, I was about to say, especially, I have a feeling at this time of year, you may get a few ideas in that space. You never know, right?
All ideas are welcome.
All ideas are welcome. Website address, how do people find it? Where are they heading? Where are we going to send them?
Okay, let me tell you this. This is the thing that is so hilarious to me at Google. Sometimes our URLs are so difficult to get back. So when I say to people, Google North American Innovation Challenge, it will come up and you will find the information.
Now.
I promise.
It's not a paid ad that we're going to be clicking away on. This is really going to happen.
Not at all, and I'm not being facetious at all, but if you just search for North American Innovation Challenge, we just launched it, so the information is live. Google has also an official Google blog. It's called The Keyword. We posted a lot of information there, and links are there. And I'm also going to be doing a lot of noise on my social channels, so we're going to get the word out. We won't be shy about this one.
Where do we find you in the social world? Where are you?
On the social medias, I've just, occupied my name across all platforms. LaToya Drake on Twitter and also on Instagram.
All right, great. This is wonderful. Any final words to the news publishing industry? We have thousands and thousands that are going to be watching this. Give me that final raw, if you wish.
The final thing I would say is consider us an open door. We are, again, not doing this in the shadows. This is something that we hope will really spur innovation within the news industry, particularly on this topic, and really reaching audiences who maybe feel like they have been overlooked and their stories aren't being told. So please, 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 if you know someone who you think might be worthy of applying, please do encourage the applications. And if we don't get any applications, we can't give the money away. So we want people to really feel like they have the opportunity to be seen and they are qualified to apply.
There you go. Googler LaToya Drake, a global outreach lead. That's your official title. You got a lot of work ahead of you over the next 3 months. It sounds exciting.
It is exciting. It is. I don't even think about how exhausting it is. I just go with the excitement and I coast on that.
If I were to poll a lot of people out there, I think they'd say I'd like a job that gives money away too. So I think you got a good gig there. LaToya, we're going to check back with you and see how it's going. I promise you that E&P will make sure that we share those links as well, because hey, there's money out there, right? Let's go out there and be innovative. Let's be inspirational. Let's be replicable, if I can use that term, or as you would say, something that can. And let's change the industry together. Thank you so much for your valuable time today.
I appreciate it. Lovely talking to you.